Hello! So we're going to go through today some quick tips on bouncing and the project and information that I wish I knew a long time ago and stuff that you need to implement and do with your projects. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing I need to tell you is that I have a patch. I have a little piano patch. So with this patch, I'm going to show you something if I was to just play chord again. And I'm going to add. Okay. I'm also going to play another little piece of music here for you. Okay. Now these are going to be useful for later. So the main thing I want to tell you here is, I know I've already changed it, so I'm going to change it back. Bear with me 1 second. And off. So when you use Logic for the first time, you will have this. If I go to 2, I can't hear the song. If I go back to start, it plays. So here, if I play from here, I will not hear this chord. I will only hear the note when it starts. Now I dealt with this for years and years I dealt with this. When all I needed to do was go to preferences. Doesn't matter which one of these you click because they all come up anyway. If I click MIDI and then go across to sync and then go to MIDI sync project settings and then go to MIDI at the top and then change to chase, and then all I need to do is click notes. I believe all you need to do is click notes, make sure it all looks like this. Okay. Now, if I press play, I've got the chord. No matter where I press play, I could play the whole chord, no matter where I am. And it means you don't have to go to the start of the audio every time you want to hear the audio or the MIDI, which is an absolute lifesaver. The times when this doesn't work or isn't ideal is when you have a plugin or an instrument that has a lot of effects, because if from this point to this point effects build up within the plugin, if you play from here, the effects will start here, which means everything gets shifted along. So what you have intended to happen here might now happen here, which would be too late. That's the only time this might fail you. There could be another example that I'm not thinking of, but for the most part, this will work. So simple as that. I've never turned that off since. I love it. So now we've got that out of the way. Okay, this is our little piece of music. So with my plugin, I added a small bus with a little bit of reverb on. I've done that for a reason, because when we go to bounce, if I go to bounce in place, I can name the bounce, whatever I want. As such, I'm going to name it test 1. So we can create a new track. We can leave, mute, or delete the old track, which is the source. I'm going to press delete. No, I'm not going to press mute for now. We're going to see what happens. I'm also not going to give it an audio tail. And normalize will always be off. Normalize, what normalize does is it tries to normalize your track for you, which means it tries to mix and does a little bit of mastering for you. Never ever normalize, unless you have an incredibly specific application, which means you need to normalize or should normalize or it's testing to normalize. Just don't ever do it. It will try and be clever and smart and fix your project for you when 1, it doesn't need fixing, or 2, you didn't know it needed fixing. Both issues are problems because, or both problems are issues, because if it tries to fix your track for you without you wanting it to or realizing, your track will sound not how you expect when it bounces, and you'll wonder why and think it's your fault or the computer's fault, and you might fall out of love with everything because of that. So don't do that. The other one, which I think is worse, is that you might not know what you're doing and it's going to correct your mistakes for you, and you might sound far better than you actually are because Logic's doing it for you. So if it's correcting mistakes that you didn't even know existed, that's a problem. If you knew that mistakes existed, you should fix them in the mix or the master yourself. Don't let Logic do it for you, because it will either get it wrong or be doing something that you didn't know or wanted to do. So just don't do it. Normalize never. No, no, no. Off, off, off. Okay, so we have test 1, new track, mute the old track. We're going to just leave this stuff here for now. And we're going to press OK. And what happens is we have now our audio track. Now, if you remember, I pressed mute on the old track, so the old track is that, muted. I cannot solo it. I cannot mute it again, double negative down. Doesn't work, it's muted. For that reason, I don't typically do that. I know there's a way that you can come out of the mute, but because I don't do that, I don't actually know how to do it. So I don't mute the old track. What I do is just leave it, because if I leave it, I have full control of what the hell I want it to do next time. So I'm going to do test 2. This time I'm going to include an audio tail. If I pull back, you see how this has a note here and it just cuts. This is because I didn't include an audio tail. This wants to tail out. So if I go back to this and I right click, bounce in place, test 2, leave, and now I'm going to include the audio tail, never normalize. Boom, now I have a tail. Mute the original one because now we have to do it manually. I have a tail. I previously did not. So the reason why I added a bus is because it adds the bus again to show you this. So when I bounce, it will add my new track automatically with the old settings of the bus. So now it's bussed twice, but because I've muted the other track, it's not coming through the bus. There's nothing coming through the bus until I unmute. And then we have the reverb. And I can also change this now without changing the original bus. The way to get around that is to bounce a different way again. So we're going to go through a main project bounce now. To bounce out of the main project, there's some things that you need to be aware of. You see the markers at the top here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, it goes on and on and on. We have a 1 to 10 in ours, a roundabout. So if I go to File and go to Bounce, and then I go to Project or Selection, you can also just hit Propeller a B. We have this PCM, MP3, M4A, C, or if you're old like me, CD, DVD. I don't even have a disk drive anymore. It won't let me do it. RIP. So we have these options here. I always bounce PCM. There's no reason, they're not much bigger. There's no reason why you shouldn't, unless it's like a certain reason, or it's just a quick thing that you've done for yourself or something that's not going anywhere or going into anything else. There's no reason why you can't make it the highest quality it can be. MP3 is just a lower format. The times when I bounced an MP3 is when I need to send someone something or quickly show someone a draft, or maybe when I was back at school I would send a tutor something an MP3 because it was just a quick example of, hey, can you give me feedback on this? And then they would. I don't need it to be, the highest quality just to do something like that. For something like Facebook Messenger, for example, for if I've worked with someone who I only have contact with on Facebook, I can drag and drop an MP3 into a Facebook chat, or maybe Discord or WhatsApp or something like that. I can't do that with the PCM. A lot of places and messengers don't allow a file size. It's not big, it's just bigger than MP3, so they will only allow an MP3. So that's the only time I would do that. Other applications require other things. I just bounce PCM. Okay, so you can change your wave format here, your resolution, your sample rate, your file type, and your dithering. The only one I really want to go through here, because the other ones are really your choice. 44.1, I would absolutely bounce 48K. However, hold on 1 second. If your project is not in 48K, do not bounce in 48K. You can only bounce in 44.1 or whatever your project is in respectively. If you start mixing sample rates, you will find stuff goes out of sync. Timing is an issue and some other weird things happen. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Bounce whatever your project's in. So you need to go to your Logic settings. Like I did before through the MIDI, you need to go through that, have a look at some stuff, read some stuff, see what you need, see what you like, see what you want to change. Just make sure that if you make a template for Logic, which I recommend you do if you're going to use Logic, you have a template that you open it every time. It's the same stuff and everything's set. You don't have to go through the chase notes. You don't have to go through setting up all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It works every time. There's no difference every time you open it up. So 48K, bounce if it's in 48K, blah, blah, blah. So I can't bounce 48K now, or I won't bounce 48K. I could, it will let me, but I won't do it because it might mess up my audio because it's a different sample rate for project, blah, blah, blah. That's how that works. So here's numbers, start and end. These numbers here correlate to these numbers here at the top. So 11111 is here, it's 11111. If I went to 12111, that would be 1, 2, and then 111. If I went to 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, that would be 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and 4 here. So it's just micro movements of each bar. So to show you that as well, if I bounce this to 10, I will show you this in a little bit more detail very soon. So I know, and I can press enter there. If I highlight it all and I press a J, which makes no sense, it's fine. It won't let me do that. It will just go back. So what I can do is actually delete all of it. And oh no, I've made a mistake, but it's okay because I know it's 10. I know it's 1. I know it's 1. I know it's 1. It's fine. I got it. Bouncing offline, audio tail off. We'll explain that again in a second. So it shows me my disk space. It shows me everything I need. Shows me that. So if I go to happy with those settings and I will bounce it, it's going to ask me where to bounce it to. I'm going to bounce this as test with load of T's. We bounce it to the desktop. Press bounce. So we heard nothing. It just did its job. That's fine. Without exposing my desktop, I can now open up my file browser, and we've been here before today, unfortunately. I can remove these somehow. Oh no, they're actually on the computer. Okay, so in my, okay, so this is, you can see here, I'm in the directory. I want to go to my desktop and I can play it. It's there. So what I'll do is I'll drag this in like so. And now it's also in the project because it's here. So if you remember when I bounced before, so it's already in the project here because it's been bounced in already. So what we can do is bounce again, all the same parameters, except I'm going to change add to project. Okay, and I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to name this Projecto. Projecto. So if I go to So I'm going to bounce this to the desktop. So not only is it going to go to the desktop, it's also going to go into my project file. So if I bounce, it's already here. I do not have to drag from my desktop or go through all files to my desktop. I don't have to do that anymore. It's all there already. So I can just click this, and drag it in, and we have my project up. Just playing twice. So the reason why I would do this instead of just bouncing in place is because I have no bus, there's no effects, nothing. It is bounced with a bus already. So the settings of this bus that I had that I obviously really liked are now in here. It has the bus affected on it. I can show you that as a prime example. So I'm just going to give it loads of reverb, and then I'm going to bounce. I'm going to add it to the project, save some time. I'm going to call this reverb and bounce that. These are also now all appearing on my desktop too, but I can just delete them later or folder them when I need to. Your choice where you want to bounce it to. As you can see here, without the bus, there is no bus on this layer, but it has all of the bus from before. That's why you would do that. So I'm going to bounce this one more time with propeller B. So what you can do as well is you see how this now says 129. That's because, believe it or not, the project ends on 129. So what we can do is we can drag this back and change the end, and it even shows you the numbers that it's going to end on there. And again, as an example, look, it's 11111, 121, 131, 41, 2, 2, 2. See how that works? So we can change our project like that, or what we can do is highlight our project. So because we've only got one, it's a little bit of a bad example. If I duplicate this, now we've got 3. So let's say this is our song. It looks like this. We want it to bounce at the end of the song. We will highlight all of it and then press propeller B again. And now look, 22, 2, 2, 1. That will be here, obviously. That's where it's going to bounce to. But I don't want that bit. So I just want this bit. I didn't actually like that bit. This bit here. I don't like this bit. I just want this bit, which is just less than 19. So rather than find what exact number that is, or guess, I can bounce again, and it will do it for me just because I've highlighted these and not this one. So that's a way of doing that. So if I want to just highlight this project, and remember, if you think, oh no, I'm going to cut the audio off here, if I do that, so let's make this as close as possible. So I'm going to cut the audio here off here if I bounce, but I won't because I can include an audio tail into my bounce. How smart. It's very helpful. So I can do that and it won't cut the audio off. The other thing that you can do is bounce in real time. What real time does instead of offline means it will do what it has been doing, which is just silently and fast as fast as possible. It will bounce the track into where it needs to go, where you want it to go, as fast and as dirty as possible. If you do it 9 times out of 10, that will work. If you have a big project and maybe not a good computer, not a high-speed computer or loads of CPU or anything like that, you might find a problem with offline bouncing because it tries to just get it all done as fast and as quick as possible, which isn't always great. Sometimes, on an older machine than the one I've got now, when I would be bouncing huge projects, I would end up with loads of artifacts in some of the samples, and I wouldn't understand why. And it was because not only am I bouncing MIDI, but I'm also bouncing the project offline, and the computer can't keep up with reading and registering what MIDI's doing what when as fast as that. So the way to fix that is to bounce in real time. So if I bounce in real time and I include an audio tail, it will bounce real time, real timer. Now it's going to play it. It's bouncing and playing it. So it's one-to-one. What I hear now is exactly what's being bounced. And as far as I'm aware, without force quitting, you can't stop this. Once it's done, it's done. So if your project is like 2 hours long, like you're doing a feature film or something like that, and you bounce in real time, I mean, you better get the popcorn ready because you're watching that film. So real TV is here. We can now drag this in. And there it is. And look what it's got. A nice tail. Beautiful. So, we have this stuff. Let's go one more time. Once more onto the breach. So, when we have the real-time option on, we have the option for a second cycle pass. What a second cycle pass does is... second... I will talk. Whoops. So, oh no, I've made a huge mistake. Look what I've done. I want to say it's intentional to show you what not to do, but no, I'm going to have to sit here and bounce the whole project out. Oh boy. Okay, so I am back. Let's do this again. But actually highlight it. So, let's see what happens. Let's do second cycle. Second. So what it's going to do is it's going to loop. It's created a loop already for me based on the parameters of how long it was. And it's going to bounce a second cycle. So what this does now is the end of the loop will carry into the start of the loop. See how that did an extra bit there? So now, let's mute this, and I'm going to drag this into here. So this bit is now going to be at the start. You hear that? That's this. So what's happened is it's taken the end of the track, the tail here, anything after, oops, anything after this part here, it's taken and it's put to the front. So this would be a good application for game design. If you had to make a game loop or a music loop for a game or anything really that required a music loop, you can bounce a second cycle of your project, so it always loops nice. However, in a lot of middleware and game software like Unity, Wise, Fmod and Unreal and things like that, those programs actually have the option to do that in the software. If you work with someone who you don't trust or don't know, it's a good idea to do your audio as best you can here, so they can't really get it wrong. You know, it's idiot proof. It sounds exactly how you want it to sound. They can't mess with it and change it and make it wrong. If you're happy with them and you trust them and you know what they're doing, and you're also trust and happy with the software that they're using, then, you know, don't do the second cycle bounce. Especially don't do it for 10 minutes or however long I did. Just so, yeah, that's what happens with a second cycle. I think that is mostly everything I could possibly tell you about bouncing. The other thing you can do is if you are bringing your tracks in, so it's going to mess my screen up a little bit here, but I have all of that stuff that I've just bounced on the desktop, so I'm going to highlight it. You can't see me doing this, and I'm going to drag them all in. And then I get this. I can create new tracks, use existing tracks, place all files on one track, all selected file stems from one project. So you can do what I'll do here. I think you can, this is all self-explanatory. So if I use existing tracks, it will all just do what it can to do what it has, to use what it has already. So I'll get some tracks here, some tracks here. If I had more tracks, they would go down, blah, blah, blah. If I create new tracks and press OK, there is all my tracks. If I'm going to press Z, it will show me, oh, there's my second cycle. Okay, so now if I press Z, it shows me it all in perspective. So if you just click somewhere, if you want to zoom into a certain place, I highlight and press Z, it's going to show me these two. Press Z or Z again, it's going to come out. If I'm zoomed out because I'm dealing with something over here or whatever, blah, 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 and I just want to see this bit, I can highlight this bit and press ZZ. And if your project happens to be zoomed in and you just want to see all your project, you can again press the magic button and we're there. So turn all these down, but these are just the track. I'm also going to drag this back so it's not got all those silly artifacts. Okay. So that's what you can do if you can drag them in. That is mostly bouncing and audio, things like that. Chase notes, very important. Yeah, also, with this stuff, like I had before, because I dragged this stuff into the project, none of this is now on a bus. It was bounced with this bus, so they all have this reverb. But now it's open to either busing it again to the same one, or I can add more buses, or I can add more buses, or, you know, whatever I want. The world's my oyster at that point. So it is absolutely your choice of which option you want to take when it comes to mixing and mastering. But have fun, enjoy. Anything else, let me know. I'll do my best. I have a wide range of many videos on this kind of stuff. I enjoy your feedback. I enjoy your eyes, your ears, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.